Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks. As you can see outside, it's a beautiful day. It's the middle of July, but I'm already thinking about this autumn and what brews I want to have in place. And I'm thinking I might make a bitter. In fact, I am going to make a bitter, but not just any old bitter. I want it to have some summer flavour in it. So I've picked some gooseberries, I've made some gooseberry jam, and with that, I'm going to make some gooseberry bitter. Keep watching. So here are my key ingredients. I'll talk you through them. So I've got a Young's Harvest Bitter beer kit. I've never used this particular kit before, but everything I've ever used from Young's has been good, so I have no reason to doubt that this won't be good either. I'm going to use medium spray malt. I've got 500 grams here from Muntons. I've got just over a kilo of homemade gooseberry jam, and I've had that many gooseberries this year that I can afford to put some in a brew. Honestly, I've had 3 times that amount, so this is going in the brew because I've just not got enough jars for it. I'm going to put a little bit of yeast nutrient in, although I probably don't need it. I'm going to add some pectolase because there will be pectic enzymes in this which might make it a cloudy bitter. It's not the end of the world, but this might help it to clear. I've got some cascade hops left from last summer. They're growing in the garden there up the fence, the green vines that you can see. That will be picked in about 2 months' time. I want to use the rest of these up, and I'm going to make a hop tea in some spring water. So I've currently got 10 litres of spring water here, but I'll be adding more than that. Also, just to point out, the gooseberry jam has been made with brewing sugar rather than standard sugar because I didn't have any standard sugar, so I made some very expensive gooseberry jam with brewing sugar, which is another reason why I think it needs to go back into the beer. Right, I've got 2 pans on the go just here. I'm going to be doing some boiling up this afternoon. And my fermentation vessel of choice, where is it? There it is, hiding in the corner, is going to be a Ritchies Fermantation bin, which I've currently got some sanitizer in, and I'm going to be giving a good scrub out. Right, I've talked enough, let's get brewing. First things first, in the smaller of my 2 pans, I'm going to make some hoppy tea. So these are cascade hops. Still smell fantastic, obviously not as good as when they were fresh. And I'm just going to get these and get them straight into here. They've been dehydrated and vacuum sealed since last September, so they've really preserved well. So these are the hops. I'm adding to the hops 5 litres of spring water. And I'm going to make myself a nice hoppy tea. Splash. Okay, I've got the hops and the water in the pan. Lid goes on. Let's get the gas on and the heat on. Get that down to a nice flame. I don't want to nuke it, but I want it at a decent level. That's it, something nice and moderate. And I'm just going to leave this until it comes to a simmer, nothing else to do with that, for a while. In fact, just to point out, because the eagle-eyed amongst you will comment, I've actually moved it to the back left ring because it was in the way where it was. I wasn't thinking, was I? So into my really big pan, I'm going to add another 5 litres of spring water. With a twister method to get it out quick. Bosh. And I'm going to put the heat on this nice and low. And I want this water to warm up, but while it's warming I can carry on. So into my water is going to go all of my gooseberry jam. And this is just literally gooseberries which have been put in a slow cooker so they all break down into mush. Then I've pushed them through a sieve to take out all the hard bits, the bits of stalk, any pips, so it literally is just flesh. Then I've put it back in the slow cooker with brewing sugar and left it overnight cooking, and that's how easy it is to make the jam. I've been looking forward to making this one though, I must admit, because gooseberry is a gorgeous flavour, isn't it? And I'm so lucky to have 3 bushes in my garden which have really cropped well this year. Well, 2 out of 3 have been banging, the other one not great, but 2 out of 3 amazing. Has anybody else had a good gooseberry year? Because last year was rubbish. But if you remember, last summer was extremely hot in the UK. This summer started off well, but then it's gone wet, and that seems to have worked better for my gooseberries. So that's all the jam and the water in the pan. Give it a swish around. It'll dissolve reasonably easy, to be quite honest. So here's the Young's Bitter beer kit. I'm just going to have a quick skeg for the instructions. Make sure all your equipment is clean and sterile. Empty contents of can plus appropriate amount of sugar into fermenting vessel. Add 8 pints of hot water to mix. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. It's all going in the big pan. Don't matter. Okay. It reckons it'll be ready in 5 days. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than that. No need to rush it. I'm making it for autumn, don't forget. So there's going to be probably... Wish it had stopped doing that. It's the bottle expanding. There's probably going to be sort of 10 weeks between this brew finishing and me drinking it. Hopefully 10 weeks anyway. I might get tempted before then. Right, I'm going to have to try and get into this. I'll come back to you when I've got into it. Right, so I've just got the top off, which was harder than what it should have been. I'm going to get the label off in a minute. And this is the yeast. It doesn't tell you, they never tell you what sort of yeast it is. But I'm using what's come with it anyway, because I usually do. Otherwise, what else am I going to do with it? Incidentally, when these are empty, they're quite handy as bottle drainers, as you can see over here. And that was another top tip from Moss Home and Garden. Anyway, I've just got the label off to try and get the instructions on there, which I'm not really going to follow anyway, and that's how good the label is, so let's just say sod that. I weren't going to follow them anyway. I always do it my way. Rebel. Anyway, it's time to play a game called Frustration. Or, I can't get this blooming lid off and every tin opener I own is rubbish. Let's see what happens this time. It's usually a pain. We have purchase. Oh. I spoke too soon. Thought I was doing well. Yeah, always the case. Honestly, right, somebody recommend me a banging tin opener. This is an OXO one which was recommended to me, and actually it isn't doing too bad. I've actually done it in 3 goes, so that's not so bad for me. So let's open up, and this is what I've got. Ta! Right, I've now got a big, long, slow pour. So lid off, and this stuff plops in. This is going to take a little while. I'll come back to you when it's all in there. It's a dangerous balancing act. Literally living life on the edge. Okay, I can't get everything out from around there, so I'm just going to pour some boiling water in to loosen that up. And I'm going to fill it all the way and then just leave it for about 2 or 3 minutes. So while I'm waiting for the syrup in there to dissolve, I might as well get my spray malt into this. And it's all going in, all 500 grams. It lumps and clumps to begin with, but as the heat builds up, it will begin to dissolve. Now it smells like Horlicks. Right, I'll give this a stir around. Try and encourage it to break down. When it gets wet like this, it goes like a Cadbury's Crunchy sort of texture. That's what I envisage it as. But it does dissolve with heat. Right, oven gloves needed now because this is hot. Just be careful and get this straight in. No messing. And that's cleaned the tin out rather nicely. So I'm going to pop the lid on this for now and let the heat build up in there. We'll move over to the hops and have a look at them. Might need a little stir around. Oh yeah, they definitely smell hoppy now. That smell there. That slightly cat-wee sort of smell. A bit elderflowery also. Yeah. My wife will get in from work, she'll smell that, and she'll know exactly what's going on in this house. You can't get away with nout these days. So there's not an awful lot for me to do right now. I'm just waiting for the liquid to heat up in both the pans. So in the big pan, I want everything in there to sort of dissolve and break down to form a syrupy liquid. And in my small pan, I'm just wanting the hops to come to a gentle simmer, and then I'm going to leave them to steep for a few hours. So I'll come back to you when things start simmering. Okay, catch you then. Okay, so about 40 minutes have passed. We've now got a nice simmer going on over here. Just going to give those a little mash around. Definitely a good hoppy smell. And you can see the colour of the liquid is like tea. Right, I'm going to leave that to simmer for 10 more minutes and then I'm going to turn it off and leave it to completely cool. Over here, have a quick look. Still not got much in the way of steam yet. A little bit. The syrupy things inside it, the jam and the stuff that come out of the tin seem to be getting a bit looser and dissolving. The spray malt has virtually disappeared, so that's a good sign. Again, I'll come back to you in a bit with this. Okay, that's been simmering for long enough now, so I'm going to turn the heat completely off. Lid comes off, steamy, and that goes on to help the heat dissipate. Nothing else to do with this now. I'll come back to it in about 5 hours. I'm just going to have a look in this one. And we're still not simmering yet, but we're definitely getting some steam off now. And yeah, everything's dissolved. It's got a nice feel to it. I want to get this up to a simmer, and then I'm going to shut it off. Okay, it's been another 40 minutes. Let's have a look in the big pan. And we've definitely got some action. I'm going to let it keep going, and then it gets completely switched off. Right, 10 more minutes in, let's have a look. Oh yes, the simmer has begun. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to turn the heat completely off now. So lid comes off. I give it a good stir around. There's nothing stuck to the bottom. Nice and loose mixture. In fact, it just feels like a decent thick liquid really, which is what it is. So I'm going to put this thing on top so the heat can dissipate, and I'm going to move the pan from the ring that it's on to a cooler ring so it cools down quicker. And that's over there. So my fermentation bucket is made of plastic. There's no chance I can get this in at this point in time. It's currently 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I reckon let's have a progress update about 10 o'clock tonight, and hopefully we might be able to start getting this together. Otherwise it'll be tomorrow morning. Don't matter either way. Catch you later. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. It's 4.5 hours later. There we go. It's time to get this lot put together. Let's have a look. So, the hops still need straining. This pan is just warm. It's by no means hot. The good stuff in there, well, that's a bit warmer, but it's definitely not too hot to go into the plastic. And I'm going to protect the plastic by adding some cold water in there first. So I'm going to begin by chucking 4 litres of cold spring water into my big Ritchies Fermentation bin. So that should hopefully protect it a little bit. Enough anyway. Now, using a colander balanced with 2 wooden spatulas over the bucket, I'm going to gently pour my hops. I don't want to do a big rush. I don't want drama. I just want the liquid to go through and the solids not to. That's what I've got currently. I'm going to tempt fate by just giving them a gentle squeeze. See if I can get some liquid out. Oh, it's moving. I definitely don't want this to collapse in there. I don't want to push my luck any further. I think I'm just going to be happy with what I've got. So at present, I've got just under 10 litres in there. Okay, now it's time for the big dramatic pour of all my syrupy stuff. That seems to have worked nicely as well. So I'm currently on about 16 litres and I want to get this up to 20. So I'm going to add another couple of litres of spring water into the mix. And I'm just under 20 now, actually. I'm going to get quite a bit of sediment because of the jam, so I'm going to go just over 20, I think. So I'm on about 21 litres now, and that's good, that's fine. And here it is, and there's the measure at the side. It's a bit premature for me to take the gravity reading yet, but I want to take an indicative one. This is too warm, it needs to be 20, but it's probably getting on for about 28 to 30, but it will give me some idea anyway. I just need to know whether I need to put more sugars in, because I want this to finish about 6% or slightly above 6% if possible. And the gravity at the minute is just over 1.040. I think I'd like to see that a bit further north, somewhere between 1050 and 1060 ideally. So I'm going to put some more brewing sugar in there, and because this is warm, the brewing sugar will dissolve. Okay, I've got 1.5 kilos of brewing sugar left in this bag. I'm not going to measure this, I'm just going to do a rough pour and try and get half of it out. Right, here goes nothing. Now I need to give it a good stir. That sugar has got to dissolve and it's got to mix so it's even. I don't want to make a session bitter. I usually only drink 1 bottle, maximum 2 when I sit down with it anyway, so I want it to have a bit of oomph. Something that's 4% is not worth bothering with to me. Okay, that brew sugar has dissolved, and that must be a constituent mixture now, or a consistent mixture now. That's the right word. Get the hydrometer back in. And I can already see that it's riding higher when it settles. It's having a bit of a merry-go-round at the minute. And this has settled down now. I'll get that reading in a sec. And at the minute, it looks like it's on 1.060. So that's great. I'm going to take the proper reading in a little while. I've got to let that cool down, and I'll do that from the hydrometer tube. But at the minute, this is looking okay. So I'm just going to take out 100 ml for the hydrometer tube. What's in here will not go back into the brew. This is now going to go in the fridge to cool down. I'll come back to you shortly. Right, using a dessert spoon, I'm going to get some yeast nutrient in there. And I probably don't need this, but you know what, it's not going to hurt. So I'm going to put 2 nice rounded dessert spoonfuls of nutrient in there. I think that yeast's going to have a jolly old time, really. Now the pectolase. So because it's got the jam in it, it is likely to finish hazy. And I'd like it not to be hazy if possible. So I'm hoping that the pectolase might do its trick. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 rounded dessert spoonfuls of pectolase in there, and I can just hope. So now my yeast, and I'm going to sprinkle the entire packet in there. I'm just going to leave the yeast on the top, let it sink in naturally and do its own thing. Now I need to get the lid on the fermentation bucket, and these Ritchies bins are absolutely cracking. Really got a good tight seal with them. I'm happy with that. So here's the airlock, slightly skew whiff. I might just give it a little pull out a bit, see if I can get it straighter. And in my slightly skew whiff airlock, I'm just going to put a bit of water. So once fermentation begins and it starts to produce CO2, the pressure will build up in there and the CO2 will bubble out through the airlock. Right, I've got this down to 20 degrees. Let's take the original gravity. I've got a feeling it might be a bit higher than I want it to be, but let's just wait and see. Yeah, I went slightly overboard with the sugar. It's on 1.064, 1064. Hopefully still under 7%. Only time will tell. Right, I'm done for now. I'm absolutely cream crackered. I'm going to get in the shower and have myself a nice cold beer. We'll have a catch up tomorrow when it comes to looking at fermentation. Okay? See you then. Morning folks, it's the next day. Brew Day 2 update on fermentation. Let's have a look at this crazy beast. Whoa! That is producing. I can't even tell you how many bubbles a minute are coming through the airlock, let alone how many a second. Pretty spot on that. And if you look at the bucket, you can see around the edges, I'll show you. This has really reacted. This has really built a strong Krausen, and it's just going completely and utterly bonkers. I think this will be done fermenting within 5 days at this rate. Anyway, I'll come back to you when fermentation is over. I mean, I don't think it's going to be very long looking at this. I'll see you in a few days' time. Good morning from the kitchen, folks. This is a Gooseberry Bitter update. It is brew day 6 and fermentation is done. Absolutely done. I cannot believe how fast this has fermented. It said ready in 5 days. I didn't believe it, but you know what? It blooming is. So if you look at the bucket, there is a clear amount of stuff here where the krausen has risen and it's now gone. You can see the top of the beer just here is looking a little bit lighter, which means that things are starting to fall. And if you look at the bottom of the bucket, you'll note that there is a distinct sediment line on about the 3 litre mark. So today I'm going to rack it from the bucket into demijohns, and I'm doing that because before I bottle it, and I could go from bucket to bottle, but I don't want to do that. So before I bottle it, I want to rack it so I can look at it in the demijohns and see that it is clearing and it is settling, and then I can decide when I want to bottle it, knowing that it's less likely to be oxygenised in a demijohn because there isn't going to be much headspace in there. And I can also control the bottling process more. I prefer to bottle from demijohns, from the bucket, and then I can just do a few at a time rather than have to get it all out in one go. A lot of people definitely wouldn't do it this way. It's just a personal preference that I choose to do it this way. So I've got 4 demijohns, 2 of them currently in the sink ready, 2 of them with water in after having been sanitised. So the ones that are in the sink are going to get a funnel, and each one is also going to get a filter in case there are any bits of trub floating around which I don't want in my beer. So this is obviously a sieve filter. This one's an old coffee machine filter, not out of that machine, but it does the job just as well. I'm going to be transferring from the bucket into the demijohns with this plastic jug which has just been cleaned. I'm not using a siphoning tube because it's too hard to control it in the demijohn. I'd rather just do it this way. And yes, I am risking oxygenisation, or oxidisation I should say, and if I do oxidise it and I do spoil it, then it's my fault. I can't blame anybody else. But so far, fingers crossed, this method has worked okay for me. So I want to get the lid off the brew bucket. There we go. Oh, that smells good. Let's have a look inside. So that's what I've got. I don't want to dawdle too much doing this, so I'm going to get straight on. So a slightly unfortunate consequence of my setup is that this tap is in the way in terms of what you're looking at visually, but hopefully it won't be too off-putting. So it's simply a case of jug into bucket, and then pour through filter into demijohn. So I've just done 1 jug so far, but I'm going to show you what is in the filter so it is serving some purpose. And you can see in the bottom of the filter there are bits and bobs there. That's from either the gooseberry or the hops, so it's definitely good to use this. So it is simply a case of transfer, transfer, transfer. I was hoping to get 5 demijohns full, but I won't. I shall simply get 4, and that's because of the amount of sediment in there, and that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to carry on doing this from bucket to demijohn. There's no point in you watching me do it for both of those demijohns. Once I've filled them both, I'll show you what I've got and talk you through what I'm going to do afterwards. Right, see you shortly. So you can see that the filter has slowed right down. It's just dripping now, and that's because it's clogged with sediment. So I'm just going to tip this bit down the sink. So I've rinsed my filters and my funnels out. These 2 are full, and it's now time to just put the airlocks in. And the airlocks will protect the beer that's in there from becoming oxidised. So I'm just going to give these a quick rinse. So I now need to get these 2 out of the sink, those 2 emptied and then filled with beer. It's a big repetitive process, exactly what you've just seen. I'll come back to you when I've done that. That was a job and a half. Let's have a look what I've got. Okay, so I've got 4 full demijohns. I've put them on the windowsill just to sort of display them. I'm not going to leave them there. But you'll notice as I go left to right that the colour becomes lighter. So here we've got almost gravy, and down this side we've got a very milky coffee. So this one here was the first one out, second one out, third one out, fourth one out. This will be sediment light, a little bit more sediment, quite a bit more sediment. This one will be sediment heavy. None of them are fit for bottling yet. I need them to clear more naturally. So all I'm going to do now is put them somewhere cold. So I'm going to leave them for a few weeks before bottling. So I'll come back to you when it comes to bottling day. See you then. Okay, it's the next day. I just want to show you the cloudiest of the demijohns, and I want you to see how it's settling. So it's very clearly darker here, lighter there, and there's a sediment line in the bottom, and this will settle nicely actually. The others behind are settling just as well, and this is going to work out just fine. It'll be nice and clear when it comes to bottling. Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks. It's big bottling day. Ooh! It's actually my least favourite part of the brewing process, but it's big bottling day for my Gooseberry Bitter on brew day 26. Pretty good turnaround. Now, it's not perfect, but we'll have a look and I'll explain it to you. So let's move over here. So first of all, this is the first demijohn that came out. And please don't be worried by the fact that it's on the windowsill in the sun. I've literally just put it here for this purpose. But this one's lovely and clear, isn't it? The first one, you can see straight through it. You can see the garden at the back there. Looks like some sort of psychedelic film or whatever. But that is the first demijohn that came out. I'm happy with that one. And I'm happy with the second one. And I'm happy with the third one. Now, each one gets a little bit more murky as it goes on. That one's got a distinct sediment line, number 3, that came out, and a bit of cloud above it. So whatever I bottle from this one is likely to be just that bit more sedimenty in the bottle, but you know, I can live with that. But this one over here, number 4, I'm not right happy with. This one is what I would classify as Bisto. I do not fancy bottling this or drinking it. So this one is going to go into the air still, and I'm going to make a spirit from it. So I'm just explaining to you that this one I'm not going to keep. So it was a sediment heavy beer because of all the fruit that went in it. So that's the price I pay. But I've still got 3 demijohns, which are going to go into a variety of bottles. So all of my bottles are cleaned and sanitised, as are my lids and bungs. And now I need to add some priming sugar into each bottle, and I want to add just a small amount, like so. So just like a skinny teaspoon, if you will, into each of the bottles. So any yeast which is left in suspension in that bitter, when it finds this priming sugar, it will smash it apart. That will create a fractional fermentation, a byproduct of which is carbon dioxide. And that carbon dioxide, when the pressure builds up in the bottle, is what gives it a sparkle. So I'm just going to finish doing this, and then I'll come back to you. So demijohn number 1, it is bung out. The siphoning tube goes in. I'm going to hold it in place with this handy clip, and because there's virtually no sediment, I'm pushing it right to the bottom. And the bit of sediment that there is, when it comes out to begin with, will go into the hydrometer tube. Let's rock. So first lot's coming out and it's going into there. And then we're moving on to the bottles. Gosh, it's coming out with a head on it like it's already conditioned. Did I need priming sugar? I'm now beginning to question my life choices. I've always used it in the past. Anyway. Oh, that's what's in the hydrometer tube. Oh, it smells good and beery. It's what you want when it's beer. Okay, I'm going to finish filling these up, then I'll come back to you. So I've got just the right number in the sink, and that was pure guesswork for the first demijohn. Just waiting for this one to finish off now. And there we go, bubbles in the siphoning tube. Tiny bit left there. We'll let that go into the next one from the tube. But there we go. This process is over for the time being. I just need to let this foam die down, then I'll come back to you. So I've got various bottle types to seal up here. This is the classic Belgian Ghost bottle. I think it's 33 centilitres. Anyway, it's kind of like a half bottle of a normal champagne size bottle. So the bung goes in the top, just like it would with a champagne bottle, like when I'm doing a cider. However, it won't stay in the top because when pressure builds up, due to carbonation, that will fly out like a missile. So I'm just going to tighten this up. So I put a cage on top, and that's that one done. So that one is bunged and caged, and that will keep it secure. Okay, that's the first kind of bottle that I've got. The second kind of bottle that I've got is the classic, the flip. And it's simply a case of putting the flip in place, bringing the locking bar down, Bob's your uncle, that one's done. Oh, how easy is that? These are great bottles. So, bottle number 2. The third kind of bottle I've got, this is actually an old Newcastle Brown bottle. It's the standard beer bottle that needs a crown cap putting on it. So, in the hot water, burn my fingers. Here is the crown cap, okay? The crown cap goes inside a crown capper, magnetically attaches to it. That comes down on top of the bottle. This is not a good place to do it. I should be doing it downwards into the sink, but I'm doing it here for demonstration purposes. And you very gently and evenly, you bring the levers down. There we go. Oof, scares me. Right, I do these downwards into the sink normally, then if it does fall over, then it's in the sink. But that is crown capped. So all 3 first type of bottles now done, different tops, but all sealed. I've got the rest of these in the sink to do. Once I've done them, I'll come back to you. So that's my first lot done, 11 bottles. I've got another 11 bottles in the sink. I've got 2 more demijohns to do. It's all quite repetitive. You don't need to watch me do again what I've just done. So I'll come back to you when everything is in the bottles. See you in a bit. And here we have it, folks. 30 bottles of Gooseberry Bitter. And I'm absolutely cream crackered. I'm going to put this on, give it a shower, because all the bottles are sticky with beer residue. So once I've given them a shower, I'm going to have a tidy round. So when I've had a tidy round, I'll come back to you. It's the right job, you know. See you in a bit. Okay, lots of tidying, lots of draining. I'm even getting told off by the cat who wants to come in. I've been busy. I'm just going to take the final gravity for this brew right now, and then I'm going to call it a day. I'll come back to this in the morning, so that'll be putting the labels together and then putting this away for conditioning. So in it goes. And that sank really well for a beer. They don't usually sink that well, actually. And it's finished on 1.010, 1010. Come on then. Yeah, you don't want me, do you? I know what you want. Biscuits, that's what you want, isn't it? Oh, you love your daddy really, don't you? I'm actually a stepdad, it's not my cat, but it don't matter. Okay, so while she's stuffing her face, let's work out what the alcohol by volume is for this brew. Okay, so I started with an original gravity of 1.064. I've finished, I deduct what I finished with, which was 1.010, which equals 0.054, and then I multiply this figure by 131.25, which gives me a final alcohol by volume of 7%. And that's a good enough strong bitter for me. Right, I'll catch you in the morning for the conclusion, the labelling, the putting away and the conditioning. I've had enough for tonight. See you in the morning. Hey folks, it's the next day. It's time to get all these bottles labelled and then put away for conditioning. So I've made this label up on my phone. It goes into a Fermentation Bluetooth printer, and I've basically just got to tell this to print 30 copies off. Hopefully I've got enough stickers. So here goes. It's going to take a minute. I'll come back to you when it's done. And that is a lot of labels. So once labelled, my bottles are going to go into here. Well, 24 of them are. 6 of them will go elsewhere. And it is simply a case of peel off label and as neatly as possible get it on the bottle. Pop it in the box. I'll come back to you when I've filled the box. Right, the box is full. Let's get this covered in, and I'm going to move it to where these are going to condition. Welcome to the conservatory, folks. This is where my beer is going to condition, and even on a rubbishy day like this, which you know, it's not a great day outside, you can see it's cloudy and it's raining a little bit, it's still 22 degrees in here. So I'm going to push this under my table here, and this is where my beer will condition. The conditioning process allows the sugar to be smashed apart by the yeast which is left in suspension in the beer. That will create a bit of CO2, fermentation and pressure in the bottle, which means it will sparkle. The flavour will also come through. What I'm looking for is a nice rounded bitter with a bit of a gooseberry edge. Am I going to get it? We'll find out in about a month's time when it comes to opening and tasting. So catch you then. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. It is brew day 115 for my Gooseberry Bitter. And if it hasn't conditioned now, then it never ever will. It's been in the bottle for 3 months, in excess of 3 months now, I think, actually. And it's now time to open it. So, am I going to get a tss? Oh, yes. And I've got vapour. You can see that. Brilliant. Nice rush of bubbles up the neck of the bottle. Okay. Fingers crossed, high hopes and all that. Right, let's get it into the cask mark Bruegel glass. See how it looks. We've got some head. Certainly got a good amount of gassiness there. Oh, this looks good. I'm happy with this. Right, front of the film. And now let's get down to the serious business of the tasting. So first off, still got a good fruity smell. You can definitely smell that there's something in this. I've got a battle of froth now. Ooh, and it's got a good fruity flavour as well. Now, is this distinguishable as gooseberry? It's not. I can't lie to you. I wouldn't have known it was gooseberry, but I would have known there was something fruity in there. It's almost a bit like rose or something. But it's really, really tasty. A good brown ale bitter with a fruity bouquet and a little fruity taste. So I'm very, very happy with this, actually. This is going to be my autumn winter drink for 2023 into 24. Yeah, this is good. I'm really, really enjoying the flavour of that. What's the ABV? 7%, so it's a good strength as well. But yeah, we've got head retention. I've got bubbles rushing up the glass as well from here, so there must be a nucleated bottom to the glass. It sounds a bit saucy, doesn't it? A nucleated bottom. But yeah, I'm very happy with this, folks. I can say it's been a success. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So cheers to you, and I'll catch you on the next film, whatever that may be. Oh, before I go, Please can you like, subscribe, comment, all those things. It really helps my channel and I massively appreciate it. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the next film. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home and Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home and Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home and Garden, and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is StuMoss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.